Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are speaking with Ellen. And as you know, we do a lot of near death experience interviews here, and Ellen is a near death experiencer. She had her near death experience when she was 6 years old in the hospital. And as you know, this is always a format of asking questions that you guys have either already sent to me or that I find really interesting and intriguing as we talk. So, without any further hesitation, Ellen, thank you so much for joining us today. It really does so much to help heal, and so many souls within the world that are feeling lost. So I want to thank you for sharing your experience today.
I think that is part of it, is helping to heal people.
Yeah.
I believe part of my journey is that. And I actually had a psychic reading, I would say about 3 or 4 months ago. And she
Uh-huh.
told me, she said, you have to start talking about and writing about your experience.
Oh, did she really? And then here I
Yeah,
am. Like, would you talk
yeah,
about?
yeah. So, yes, I was in the hospital. I had actually been in and out of the hospital since I was born. I was,
Oh,
yeah, I had been sick just on and off with um,
was it
a
like
condition.
ear infections or throat infections or?
No, it had to do with kidney infections.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, it was a physical condition that at that time in history, children just died from it. They didn't
Oh,
even really know what it really was, and they definitely didn't know how to treat it.
mhm.
So it manifested in super, super high fevers. Like I would get fevers of 106, 107, and
Wow.
they would put me in tubs of ice to try and
Oh,
bring the heat down, which thankfully I don't remember any of that.
thank
Uh,
goodness. Yeah.
but when the near death experience happened and I was alone in the hospital room, I think that that was really the end for me. Like I knew, I think children really know. I knew that I was going to die. And I suspect it was just that the temperatures had gotten so high that because I was sort of seeing really creepy images that I think were part of the fever.
Okay.
And um, it was horrible. I mean, I was just so sick. How it manifested in my regular life, I think, like a lot of kids, you just sort of go on. I mean, you're a kid, right? So as long as you feel okay, I think I was functioning very well. As a matter of fact, I was really a very serious and responsible kid.
Uh-huh.
And then I think it was just, I don't remember how I responded to being ill, but I probably cried or whatever kids do.
Right.
And but I was so it got terrible in the hospital, and nobody else was there. But then all of a sudden, these three angels appeared. I call them angels. I don't really, I say angels because they had white robes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like I distinctly remember their white robes, and they had rope around their waist.
Uh-huh.
So
Could you see their faces or hair or
two of
smiles?
them, two
Okay.
of them stood at the end of the bed,
Okay.
and they were mute. They didn't speak, and
Okay.
I don't remember being able to see their faces.
Okay.
But the third one was the one who spoke to me and explained everything that was going to happen. And I remember him exactly how he looks.
Oh my goodness. Okay, first you have to tell me everything he looked like. What did he look like?
He had gray hair,
Uh-huh.
and he had like kind of like a little bit larger than a goatee. And he was, like a handsome, nice looking man. And I mean, it's just so amazing that I could still remember him, but it really is like it happened yesterday, even though it was 54 years ago.
And when you looked at him, what were your I'm curious, did you have any feelings? Like, did you just feel joy when you looked at him? Were you happiness? Did you feel safe? Like, could you remember what
Oh,
you felt like?
yeah, that's a good question. I remember when they appeared at the end of my bed, I was so, so sick. And it was just a sense, really, of kind of a little bit of shock like, who are these
Mhm.
beings here? But again, as children do, I think I just sort of accepted it. And I guess I felt a closeness with this man because I still feel a sense of comfort. Like if I want to, I can sort of tune in and talk to him because for
Uh-huh.
whatever reason, he has something to do with me. because he right away said, you are going to be working for
Oh,
us,
okay.
meaning him and the other two. I would assume that's what he meant. Um, so it was definitely a positive experience for me with him, but it wasn't. I know that there are people who have near death experiences and they have like this, like it's Jesus, and it wasn't like that. It
Okay.
was a much more practical conversation.
Okay.
I mean, I knew he was some sort of otherworldly being. And I remember kind of pulling away from my body and being able to see him talking into my ear because he bent down like really close in my ear. And I remember looking, but I sort of just accepted it. I think it
Right.
wasn't, I didn't, it didn't seem strange to me. It didn't seem negative. Didn't seem, it was just like, okay, this is the next. I think I was grateful because, I really didn't want to stay in that place of being so sick for
Right.
so long. Yeah.
Yeah, 6 years. 6 years of your whole life is a long time to be that
Uh,
sick.
I still have repercussions, but
Oh,
but just because they save your life doesn't mean you don't have more suffering. It's just
right.
not what it was.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Um, it's probably created a fearlessness in me. I mean, I'm pretty fearless. I don't really get scared of a lot of things
Do you think your
because I think
NDE caused that? Like
I think so. I
yeah.
feel like it did. I think when you're that sick and you're, basically dying, and I think you just end up feeling like, what else could happen? I mean, really.
Right.
I mean, I have people write to me and they're like, oh my God, aren't you scared to go this way or that? And I'm like, no, I really don't have a lot of fear about almost anything. And plus, I
Right.
have a very strong sense of purpose because the whole idea of them saving my life is that I had to do what they asked of me to do. So I know clearly that I'm here for a reason and they're going to keep me here until I'm done. So,
Do you remember anything that when he bent down and he was
oh,
whispering?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
oh my gosh. Okay.
yeah.
Let's hear it, lady.
Yeah, I remember very specific parts of it. And the parts I don't remember, I'm aware of because they guide me in the vision in that part of it.
Oh.
Yeah, but the part I remember is that he said, you're going to have to agree to work for us, and we'll let you live if you agree here and now. But you're going to have to, and we're going to give you two gifts. He might have given me more, but I remember two. And
Uh-huh.
he said, we're going to give you the ability to design jewelry in your specific genre that we want you to work in, and we
Hmm.
want you to work with Native Americans. And I remember thinking, I don't know any Native Americans. How am I going to work with Native Americans?
Uh-huh.
And he said, very specifically, we are giving you the gift to see into your own life so that you understand, because your life is going to be very complicated. And so that you can see why certain things are happening and you understand it. So for years, I could see a vision into my future, which I still see. But I realized over time that I could also see into past lives. I can't choose the lives I see into. I think they choose for me. But what I didn't understand when he said that to me was that in seeing into my life, it wasn't just the future, it was also the past, that they consider my life all the lives. It
All of
isn't
them.
just your life now. We want you to see into all your lives because all my lives have a lot to do with the work that I'm doing now, not just the creative work, but different things I have to accomplish for them.
Do you think that seeing into all of your lives has been helpful or a hindrance?
Oh, it's been amazing. I
Oh, that's
mean, I wish I could choose to. I've seen into seven, and I have no idea if that's all of them. Probably not. But yeah, I mean, I see this whole three-dimensional, it's like a movie. I can't see that way in my normal life. I
right.
can see three-dimension in my jewelry designing. I can create a three-dimensional form in my mind. But when I see into the past lives, especially the last two that have happened, because they've been so profound and so specific, once I see them, they're still there. They're kind of like to the right side of me in
Mhm.
this like glass like orb, and they completely make sense in terms of what the things that have been assigned to me. when
is it
I
like throw your balance off, or is it disconcerting to have like a past life that you lived over here right beside you as you're living
no,
this one? Does
no.
it feel separate or does it feel integrated?
It feels integrated, and that's probably another reason why I'm pretty fearless as far as dying. I mean, we
Right.
absolutely are going to live multiple lives or have, and
Right.
whether you believe it or not, it's going to happen. So
That is,
I don't, yeah.
it's amazing that you're saying this. So I'm curious, what has, can you share any of your past lives with us? Would that be
Sure,
okay?
sure. The last two were so profound that I'll describe those.
Yeah.
One, I was in Greece. I have a really great doctor that I work with there, and he does many things, but he does Chinese medicine, and he had put needles in me, and then finally he put a needle in my ear. I don't know what he was treating. Boom! The next thing I know, like a whole vision opens up again, completely three-dimensional. Not only visually three-dimensional, I could smell because it was like in this kind of river area. I
Hmm.
could smell the area. I could feel the wind in the area, and it was so clear. It was a man in I'll say a canoe, like, and he was rowing the canoe, and he had a mohawk,
Hmm.
and that was it. I saw that, and it's usually not a long. You're not seeing a long, you see a window, right? So
Okay.
yeah, you don't necessarily see, but it's very clear. I don't know. I think that there are certain Native Americans who wore mohawks.
Hmm.
I've looked it up a little bit, but what was just so profound in that experience was how I could feel everything. It was like I was there. It was
Wow.
shocking. And of course, the doctor was thrilled because he's
Right.
a pretty spiritual guy. And he was like, "Oh, I got the right spot then with the needle." And that was amazing. And then I was in India a few years ago in Kerala doing a very difficult physical cleanse called panchakarma.
Hmm.
And I was really sick almost every day. I was so sick. And one day I was just laying down in the yoga room, and this is a very petty thought, but I was thinking, I just really wish I was really gorgeous, because I would just have such an easier life if I was really gorgeous and I had this really dynamic personality. Boom, right at that second, another life opens up. And it's like, the only way I can describe it is like the mists of Avalon. It was a man on a horse, a very big horse,
Hmm.
and I can still see him. How I know it's me is because of how I see it.
Hmm.
And I know why they show it to me. So he is riding his horse up this sort of cobblestone type path, and he's able to ride his horse into the building. Like, I guess it has really wide
Uh-huh.
hallways.
Uh-huh.
And often in these lives, they don't show me the face of the person. They show me usually the back and kind of the context, so I
Hmm.
understand. But with him, they showed me shortly him later, extremely handsome
Oh,
and this amazing personality. And you could just tell he was like this super successful, amazing guy, extremely gorgeous. And I really felt they were saying to me, you've been that. You've been that
oh,
gorgeous, dynamic personality. It's a part of you, you know? So
right.
it was just, it's still, I mean, I look at it, it's all these beautiful blues, like this mist, and it was at night, and I guess the moon was casting
Hmm.
some kind of like moonlight on it. But those two have been the most recent, and I think have had the biggest effect on me. And they really literally came out of nowhere. I mean, I had no intent to see anything.
Yeah.
And actually, the visions have all gotten stronger through my life. Everything has gotten
Has,
stronger.
oh, as you have grown up, everything's
Yes.
gotten stronger. Now,
Yeah.
have you ever seen past lives where you were a woman? I know that's duality and not as
Yes.
important, but I'm curious.
Yeah. Two of the lives I was a woman.
Hmm.
One of them, again, I could only see the back of her because a lot of times that's how we do it. And she was like a maid, and
Hmm.
she's cleaning the floor of a
Hmm.
big estate. And maybe she's Irish, I don't know, or English. And I could sense that she was really sick, that she
Oh,
was dealing with some kind of health issue. And I think it's the same health issues that I've dealt with. Like,
oh,
you see, because in those days, she would have never gotten the right help.
Right.
And so she was very sad, and it was probably a really terrible life. And that really motivated me, because I've had to work really hard on this specific health issue. And the fact that myself in that life, I didn't have any hope. I mean, there was no way that it was going to change. So, and again, like she's still there. And then, oh, I had done, this was many, many years ago. I was in Taos, New Mexico. Gosh, it had to have been like the mid 80s. And at that time in Taos, there was a group called Right Use of Will.
Uh-huh.
And they believed that if you could go into your past lives, you could change your current fears by
Hmm.
what you saw in the past life. So anyway, I don't know if that's true, but he was the first one to help me see something. So after that, I did it on my own.
Were you
But this,
hypnotized at that point to go in?
I
Like,
don't think it's hypnotized because I don't think I'm easily hypnotized.
mm-hmm.
It's sort of a relaxing state. And
Mm-hmm.
after I did it, he said, "Oh, well, you'll be able to do that on your own." But it took me like 20 more years. I mean, and even then, I didn't understand that it was part of this whole
Gift.
path that I was supposed to
Right.
walk. I didn't know that then. But in that life, I was like living in a cave. And so I guess it was a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting how I saw that life because I only see parts of it really clearly, and other parts are more symbolic because sometimes that's how things happen or that's how you see it. But
Right.
I was in a cave with like my family, and I this man was coming, let's say, to marry me. So this
Mm-hmm.
was like a fur trader or something. And when I left, there was a lot of bad energy with my family leaving,
Uh-huh.
and apparently some of my family members put spells on me, so we had to go to this witch, and
Oh
I
no.
see us go into this underground building. I mean, it's just so, you have to understand that I just don't see that way. It would be
Right.
like
Right.
a film director, right? A film director who can see. So we had to go, and she had to take the spell off, and that was the life as a woman. Yeah. Those are the
Wow.
only two lives I've seen as women. Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm not sure quite how that applies to everything now. Maybe it was just like an opening because it was the first time I saw anything. It took a
Right.
really long time for me to understand that a lot of this whole journey, because I was only 6 when it happened.
Yeah.
So I had to gain a lot of consciousness before it wasn't even until like I was in college that I really started to be like, oh my gosh, that I started to know really that this thing had happened.
So when you died in your so I guess I'm going to say that, did you die? Did you die? Did you cross the other side and then
I,
nurses came running in and oh my god.
well, it wouldn't have been like that because I wouldn't have been hooked up to anything.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, my thing was these super high fevers, and
Right.
I'm going to guess that I did because otherwise I don't think that they would have appeared.
Right.
For me, I just knew it was just horrible. Maybe I was having convulsions or seizures. That's what happens when you go up to like 106 or 107. So
Right.
it's pretty easy to die at 107 fever, especially because then they just didn't really, they didn't understand that there was infections happening. They didn't know where the infections were coming from. So whether I was dead or not, I would think that if even for a moment, I probably was. Otherwise, why? I don't know. And that's,
Yeah, right. Why would it
that's a
have why
question I'll never really know. Because I don't think I know that in our world, it's sort of black and white. You're either dead or alive.
yeah,
But I
right,
think
right.
when you're in the spiritual realm, it's a little less of a, so black and white. You
Mm,
just sort of start to move into the spirit realm, right? And
yeah.
your body might still be somewhat physically alive. I don't know. I think it's possible I could have been, but
Yeah.
I definitely was able to be in that realm. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to communicate with them.
Right.
And
One of the things you
that,
said is that you saw yourself moving up as
I
he
could
was
see,
bending
yeah,
down.
yeah. I didn't even realize that till recently because I was telling one of my friends, and I said, "Yeah, I was looking down and seeing him talk to me." And she said, "Well, you were looking down means that you were."
Out
out
of the
of your
box.
body.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things where you just, and it's interesting because one woman on the Facebook post, she said, I can't imagine how you can remember everything from 6 years old. And I'm like, first of all, it's not a normal memory. It's an imprint. And second of
Right.
all, I actually remember more and more and more all the time.
Right.
It's it's just a different kind of a thing because it's I think it's kind of like being an artist. So your artistic ability sort of opens
Hmm.
as you work more and
Yep.
you know. So
As you practice your craft and as you pour your passion into it, it begins to like meld with you, and then you sort of begin this, you know, I don't know, almost like a DNA helix, right? You
yeah,
meld it together and
exactly.
integrate it into who you are.
Especially for me because I was given very specific jobs that I've had to do, and I've
Right.
really, followed them as closely as I can, and they're not easy. They're
Do
not
they
all
show
easy
up
at
at the
all.
but they should be like, this is your job, go do it? Or like with
Um,
when you're at a crossroad or something, they're like that you have to pick going this way, which is the 10 million times harder way to go than just saying no.
yeah,
Do
but I think it's when you make those kind of agreements in that
uh-huh.
kind of a realm, I don't think you feel like you have a choice.
Ah, that's good to
I
know. Yeah.
mean, I don't think I ever really felt, and I didn't understand what everything was going to be.
Mm.
So now I understand more what everything was going to be. But I remember clearly saying to him after he spoke, and he said, okay, now you're going to have to decide. And just like kind of like a feisty little kid, I said, well, that sounds really hard. And I don't remember if he laughed or what he said, but I was like kind of a little agitated. Like, that
Yeah.
really sounds hard. Like, I knew even then it was going to be a tough road. And I said, but I really want to get out of here. So I'll do it. I'll agree. And I want to live.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I mean, I'm not going to tell you my story because we just don't have time. But I
Oh,
something similar. I didn't die, but it was something similar happened, which I was kind of like, yeah, sure, whatever, I'll do it. like
oh,
like it's
interesting.
going to happen ever. I'm going to die before I reach 40. Whatever, I'm going to be dead.
Oh,
And yeah, so they and yeah, so I think so. I've got a few like talking to people that I have to talk to when I get to the other side. Like, you can't do that to kids. They
yeah,
don't,
right.
it's just not fair. It's not fair.
It's not fair to give so much responsibility. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're like,
Yeah.
well, you're not really a kid, you're a soul, but you know,
Right.
but
That's how I think that they perceive it. I
right,
think because if I was only 6 years old, how did I even really understand everything? Right. But I
right.
did, and so, and the ability that they gave me of seeing into my future, seeing this path, um, it's
Yeah,
the thing that will lead me. So if I have a question of whether I'm supposed to do something,
yeah,
I can start to see that it's showing me, yes, this is what you need to do. And it'll show me different points along the way. And a lot of things, it's showing me things like 50 years from now, 40, well, let's say I'm 60. It's showing me things up until 40 years from now. Let's say I'm going to die when I'm 102, right?
uh-huh.
I can see things that are going to happen
Wow.
to me, I mean, over many, many years. And I know that it's the way it works because so much of my life has worked this way. Although you have to create it too.
Right.
They show it, but then you have to do it.
You got to do the work. You got to climb the ladder.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
that's not always easy.
That's not always easy. Well, I'm gonna some people ask some questions like, did you recognize him or did you recognize anybody, the other two people at the end of the bed? Did you have any
I
like,
did the two people at the end of the bed who were mute, I don't even really remember their faces. And this man, I didn't recognize him, but I remember liking the way he looked,
uh-huh,
and I'm sure he has something very important to do with my life.
right.
I sometimes look for him, I'm like, maybe I'll see his face. And I've never really,
Never seen it.
no, no, not exactly. No.
That's so sweet. So you can sense your past lives and you can see them, just not like you can't really go after them. You can't. It's just happenstance and you're going to get shown it when you're supposed to be shown it, and that's it.
Well, the first one that I did with right use of will,
Hmm.
yes, he brought me into it, but I don't think the other ones I've been able to see, and I don't think the path for me is to go into it with somebody else because it's really my journey. And
Yeah.
yes, I can't choose it. I never tried after that. Like I mean, after like a year or so after right use of will, where he would say, you could try it, never worked. And as I grew to understand that this was part of my whatever gift, I
Hmm.
just thought they're just going to show me what they want to show me. They
Right.
don't, I don't, yeah. So that's why I could never really work as a psychic because I can't draw it up. I mean, I can have a
Yeah.
feeling about somebody or a
Right.
place, but I can't draw up that.
Right. That's, I mean, it's interesting. Um, it's interesting. So one of the questions somebody asked me is, when you died, did it feel like you were dreaming, or did you feel like it was more alive than being alive?
I felt like I was alive when I was talking to them, when he was
Yeah.
talking to me. At that point, I did not feel like I was dead.
Did not feel like you were dead.
No. And I don't really know because there's nobody else in the room. You're not
Right.
hooked up to anything when you're
Right.
dealing with this kind of situation. But I do know that shortly after that was when they discovered the surgery to correct
Oh.
the problem that I had. So prior to that, all these kids were dying, right? But it was in 1965, I think. And then I had the surgery. I would think maybe at that time after that was when I had the surgery. So
Oh, okay.
the
So
only thing I remember about when I think that I was dead, but is that it was just really horrible. I was in a very
yeah.
horrible place. It was just like demons and bad.
Oh, like right when you were dead, that's when you said you were hallucinating,
Yeah. I
right?
think it was the fever. I don't know, but all I know is it
Right.
was demons and very visual. I could see it and
Right.
sort of these weird sounds and elongated voices. And
Oh,
I just remember lying there thinking, oh, this is it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have a chance. And which seems like a sophisticated thought, but I think all beings sort of value their life, no matter how old
yeah.
you are. And then it was just like, boom, there they are. I mean, it was like literally in a split second, it changed.
Wow. And they
Yeah.
said, well,
So
you can live as long as you live.
after he told me everything, and
Mm.
then I had to agree. And like I said, I was really like very feisty. And like, I remember just saying in a really grumpy way, well, that just sounds really, really hard. Like, I don't know if I could do it. And of course, they weren't going to, but
Take no for
that's
an
not their
answer.
problem, right?
Right.
I mean, I am sure they have given me the skills, to do
Yeah.
what I'm meant to accomplish, but there's times when I don't feel that.
I bet. I mean, did it change your religious views, or did you have religious views prior to this, or did it
I was
shift?
brought up very Catholic and I never really felt much for it because I'm not somebody I don't believe anybody else has more access to God. And so maybe that came from having a spiritual experience,
Yeah.
because here's this man up there saying he has access to God. And
Right.
for me, but so I don't, you know, it's not for me.
It's not. I love that you're saying that. I think that is. I. That's something I talk about all the time. Is that nobody is above you as far as your
Yeah.
connection to spirit or your connection to the other side. Like, it really is. And I always find myself as like, I'm your facilitator for a little bit, and then I'm done, and then I move to the
Yeah.
next person, and you're on your own. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a lot of control. That's
right.
how,
Yeah.
it's more control. There is spiritual aspects, of course, or
Right.
there were at one point, but uh, no.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I did get confirmation and communion and all that because I grew up really Catholic. But as
What's
soon
your
as,
confirmation name? I'm curious.
oh, it's Elizabeth.
Elizabeth. That's a great
Yeah.
name.
Yeah. 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 So, um, but there's a lot of really hard things that I know that there's no way that I would have had the strength to take on, let alone accomplish. especially one of the things I've been dealing with for the last 15 years. And yet they keep showing me in the vision that I will succeed. It will work. And
Hmm.
this has to do with the health issue of members of my family. So,
Oh,
yeah. And just brutally hard.
oh,
It's
I'm so
really,
sorry.
really hard. Yeah. But they keep showing me. So I stay with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
has your faith in spirit like increased in this lifetime, or do you feel like this has been a soul healing experience for you?
That's a good question. I don't know. I always just sort of look at it like I have a job, like I'm
Ah,
working for, I'm serving
sir.
is
Yeah.
what I feel like. So sometimes when people talk about, well, they don't know what they want to do. A lot of times I think sometimes people just don't want to choose, but they're not happy with this or they're not happy with that. And I just
Hmm.
think to myself, well, I have not been, a lot of the things I've done have created a lot of, I don't want to say unhappiness with me, but really, really tough stuff to do. And
Hmm.
it's not a question of me being happy or not. This is what they've asked me to do. I can choose how I respond to it, but
Right.
so I'm just so connected, like, to, I guess, the other side. I think once that veil gets lifted, it's just normal for me to
Right.
feel like connected to
So do
spirit or whatever.
so even though things have been hard, do you find yourself like in a um just a happier spot and your disposition is sort of just from a happier place?
Well, I think it's more that what I try and do, and I've had to learn to do this, is not to be happy or sad
Oh,
about the jobs that I'm
okay.
meant to do, and just to do them and know that I'm doing the right thing because they're showing it to me. And
Hmm.
so certainly there are points because you get to sort of plateaus in succeeding in different things.
Hmm.
And then you feel like, yay, I got that far, and then you're happy, and then you start climbing again. So I've just learned to not be in general as emotional as I might have been in the past.
Oh,
Well, and part of that was like 5 years ago, I just decided I was just going to start traveling and that I could be more objective on everything if I started traveling. So I basically have not lived in my house in New Mexico in 5 years. I've just lived in other countries.
that's right. Because right now you're in Buenos Aires, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I've been in Greece and Italy and India and a little bit in Croatia, a lot of time in Argentina. So that helps give me a lot of perspective, the
Yeah,
distance.
traveling is
Yeah,
brilliant for that.
not be so attached
Right,
to, let's say, the suffering in my family. It
right.
allows me to be to have distance from it. So
Yeah, that's
I
quite
mean, I
brilliant.
do get a question why did I get chosen for this? But if I look at the past lives, if I start to look at them, and then then it can begin to kind of make some sense.
So you could smell the past lives. Could you
That
smell
one I could
the
smell. That
one,
one
oh,
in the
that one with the
acupuncture.
river?
Yeah, because the last two have been, I don't know if it's, I think that my vision is just getting stronger, but the one with the man with the mohawk and he's rowing his canoe, it was unbelievable. I could feel the wind. I could smell, like, they had these reeds kind of on the edge of the river
Hmm.
and I could smell them. And, you know, it was extremely profound. And the image of the man, oh, I think it was me. I don't see why else they would show it. And that's what I mean. They say, see into your life in this mist
Right.
of Avalon type setting. I mean, the colors and just everything is so beautiful. I mean, it's almost like heavenly because
Wow.
it's so beautiful. I mean,
Right.
it's so beautiful. And it's so cool how once I see them, then they're always there. They're
Did you?
always there.
So that was the one where you were in India doing a cleanse, and
Yes.
you were sort of wishing you were if I was just gorgeous and beautiful, life would be easy.
Yeah, beautiful, gorgeous with this dynamic personality, right? And,
Well, you
and
it seems like you have all these things. So
oh, well, that's kind of you to say.
I
And
know
then it was like, boy, they really lashed me. Like they were like, okay, this is who you were,
this
you
is
know? And he was like a movie star.
right.
And he was like a soldier. He's a soldier. He's, I don't know what, a knight. I mean, I'm not really sure
Yeah.
his level, but I think it was just sort of me. we all do it, feel a little sorry for ourselves, right?
Right.
Sometimes.
No, a bill, like, yeah, no, yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
What I'm curious about is once you had that, like you looked into that life,
Oh man.
did the cleanse get easier?
The cleanse didn't get easier because of the health issues I have. I mean,
Oh,
it's just so hard for me. I was just sick the whole month. It was just brutal. But
mhm,
it just showed me that like we all have different parts of us. If we could
right,
see into our past lives, we would understand the different parts of us. And I think
right.
we all have lives of suffering. We all have lives where we have dynamic lives. We all have peaceful lives. We all have lives set in war. I mean, no, I don't believe that there's any spirit or soul that doesn't have lives of suffering you know, or success. Everybody experiences different things. And
Yes.
that helps a lot for me to understand that. And that it was just such a brief thought too. It wasn't like something I'm like consumed with. Like I hardly ever think
Right.
like that. I'm like,
Right.
I just don't tend to think like that, right?
Right.
Like I don't look at Taylor Swift and think, God, I want to be Taylor Swift, you know.
Right.
But it was just a moment. And then it was like, wow. So I've been this like crazy, gorgeous, dynamic soldier in, I guess it would be the Middle Ages. I don't know
Mhm.
exactly the timing, but I know that you could ride a horse into the building. That I know.
That you know.
Yeah, you could ride a horse into the building because I was able to do that, which was, yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I think that some of what you're saying is so pertinent to how everybody sees their lives is that you have had all of these things, you have been all of these things, and to understand like what you're doing here now is important, just as important as everything that you've done.
Well, that's why I think people are too narrow when they
Mhm,
only look at their life now
mhm.
and they think, okay, I didn't do this or I didn't do that right or I haven't
Right.
succeeded this way. I think it probably, and that's why I think that group was probably successful, right? Use of will. I think it helps really to be able to see, to understand that you've had other incarnations with different suffering and successes. It doesn't end with this.
Right.
Like people will say, "Oh my God, I'm 60 something and I'm done. I mean, I'm not working anymore." And I'm thinking, God, you got like 10 more lives. Like, forget it.
Right.
There is no you're not working anymore.
Well, you know what I say, this is what actually it's so funny we're saying. It's just I really what I say is, how many lives do you want to live? Like, do you want to get your work done, or do you
Yeah,
want to keep like coming back and coming back? Like, just lean into everything as much as you possibly can so you can finish this up.
I see what you're saying. I don't see a point of me finishing. I
Yeah.
can see a brief glimpse of who I'm meant to be
Hmm.
next, but I don't see. I know that they talk about that there's an end point, but I haven't seen that yet.
You haven't seen that yet. I'm
No.
excited for it. I'm excited
Yeah,
for it.
right. Oh my God. Then you can just kick back.
You just, oh no, then you gotta like help everybody else. I bet you that's what happens. You're like, it's not done. You kick back because you've done all of this stuff. Somebody had asked this question because it was interesting because you talked about the smell of the NDE of the other
Oh,
life. But did that guy who was talking to you, did he have a smell? Or did he glow at all?
you mean the man with the mohawk in the
No, no,
canoe?
no. The man, so no, when you were in your bed at 6 years old, the guy that we had leaned down and sort of
Oh, that's a good question. I don't remember a
you don't
smell. I
remember?
hated the smell of the hospital
Oh
too, so
yeah.
I would probably block out because
Yeah.
I can remember the smells, and I was just there so much, like months
Yeah.
and months. So I don't remember smell with him, but I just remember he was really kind and you know, I mean, I would like to know who he is. That would be interesting. I don't have as much in interest, I would say, in the other two because they
Mhm.
were, I don't know. Yeah,
They
they
were
were,
holding space. Who knows what they were doing?
yeah, yeah. But
It's
I've had other experiences too, sort of not like that, but angelic. I had another angelic type experience. And I just think it's once you sort of like lift that veil, then you're more prone to
well,
things.
tell you might as well just tell me about it. You opened that door.
Oh my gosh. It was very, I had a friend, she was my best friend when we were teenagers, and she was
Oh,
murdered. She was murdered actually by her boyfriend.
I'm so sorry.
So it was very, very traumatic at the time. I mean, it totally destroyed us. and all her friends and everything.
Yeah.
But I had sort of grown to understand that he had mental health issues.
Mm.
And I don't believe anybody's born a murderer. This is my belief system.
Yeah.
And it was just like I just came to that decision one day. I just thought, you know what? I think he's sick in his mind.
Hmm.
He didn't even know what he had done. And I've learned a lot because there's a lot of autism and mental health issues in my family. So uh, I just finally decided I just want to see him. Like literally the day I decided that I understood what had happened, I get a call that he's working at a local store in
Oh.
my own hometown.
Hmm.
And I just thought, I'm just going to go see him. I don't want to talk to him, but I don't want to have any fear around it anymore. And I just want to be able to look at him.
Hmm.
So he's working at a Trader Joe's. It was super crowded Trader Joe's because it was near Christmas. And I was looking for him. I mean, we were all best friends. His best friend was my boyfriend. So it was
Hmm.
very, super traumatic. And I saw the back of him, like, that's him. So he turned around and he started walking across the room. And then we locked eyes. As soon as we locked eyes, I was in like heaven. I was in this place of like unbelievable peace and calm.
Wow.
I've never felt anything like it. I don't remember feeling it in the near death experience.
Wow.
And it was just like, oh my God. And I could feel something coming from my right side sort of go through me. And it was
Hmm.
like sparkles, like tiny little electric diamonds.
Uh-huh.
And then as he walked on, it passed and he passed. And I was able to keep that incredible feeling off and on for a while afterwards.
Hmm.
And then it's, I didn't feel it anymore. But I think that's one of the feelings people feel when they have those, where they're going into the tunnel or different things. I believe
Yeah.
it was my friend. I like to think it was her. I don't know. You know, I can't say, but I like to think it was her saying, this is where I am.
Yeah.
And maybe because they were, they situations like that, they're working together, right? I mean,
Right.
in a way, it doesn't seem like it.
Right.
Somebody was happy that I understood the situation. And I know a lot of people wouldn't like to hear that
Right. I'm
because
sure. Yeah, I actually think you're probably right. A lot of people wouldn't like to hear that, but I can definitely see your friend stepping forward and making sure there was no fear for you at all and that she was
oh no,
happy.
it was an
Yeah.
unbelievable feeling. I felt like she was showing me where she was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a big proponent of how our society treats people who obviously have mental illness.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, just by the nature of murdering somebody. I mean, maybe there are some people who are just bad people and do it for money, but I think the majority have mental health issues.
Yeah. No.
So I like to look at it a bit more objectively. And also, I didn't want to be afraid of him anymore.
Right.
It doesn't justify what he did,
Right.
obviously, but that was such a crazy experience. And I'm in the middle of Trader Joe's, and like I felt like I was in heaven. It
Right.
was it was just amazing.
Do you felt like he recognized you or do you think he
I
did?
don't know. Maybe he would unconsciously.
Yeah.
It's kind of, this shows you his level of mental illness, that he's working right near where we all went to high school. I mean, he's working like a mile away from the high
Right.
school, right, with his name on his tag.
Right.
And so he obviously isn't 100% there.
Right.
I don't think he's the kind of person where it's ever going to happen again. He was doing a lot of serious drugs at the time, very, very serious drugs, as many were in the 70s. And
Hmm.
I don't know if probably if I had talked to him, but I was not going to talk to him.
Right. Right.
Not like
Right.
I want to be friends with him. I
Right.
just want to understand what happened.
Yeah. Ellen, I feel like I could talk to you like all weekend. Like I just
Uh,
like let's get some coffee and some hot chocolate and covers and let's just sit on the couch and talk. That's what it feels like.
well, it's very helpful for me
Mhm.
because like that experience in the Trader Joe's, I think maybe I've told 3 people.
Wow. I
And,
always
you know,
I sometimes I believe that we also get blocked, like we're blocked by angels so that we're not like this isn't you don't have to see him, he's here, but this is more important for you to have this feeling and you don't have to interact. I
absolutely. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
like my brother committed suicide. I never
Mhm.
saw that in my vision. I see a lot of things in my vision with my family.
But
I
never
don't
that.
think never that. It's completely like, so it's not like I can see everything. And certainly
Right.
I think they do protect me with certain things.
Right.
They're not going to show that. If they had shown me that, I do see other things that are bad, but not as quite as bad as that.
Yeah.
So I believe that there is kind of a way or a system that they have of knowing how much you can handle.
First, put all the decisions on the little kids and then
No, so then my mom ended up having me take care of my little sisters
Mhm.
from when I was like 6 or 7. And I took care of them, even though they were just like a year or two younger than me. And in those days, there was so many kids, and we had a big
Right.
family, and we would walk everywhere, like miles, right, to the store. And I was responsible for these two. I'm like,
Right.
Mom, why did you have me do that? She's like, Ellen, you were such an old person. She's like, you were old by the time you were like 5 or 6. You were already like,
You're all ready to be a mom at 5.
I think truly the most important thing is people not focusing so much about their time limits in this life.
Yeah.
I think it's a continuous path.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think that's a really big one.
I
That
actually feel I 1,000,000% agree with you because one of the things that I understand is like everybody's all so concerned about what are my gifts? When do I get my gifts? I'm 40, I'm 50, I'm 60, I'm 70, and I don't get it yet. I don't understand it yet. And I'm like,
yeah,
well, it's always an uncovering and
yeah.
a desensitization or a depatterning, if you want more depatterning for what are the patterns that held you back or the belief systems that hold you back from having that experience.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure why some people don't see, but I do know that, as you probably know, it's not always easy to have psychic
Hmm.
abilities because it can be really draining. I know for me, energetically, I have to be really careful. So I'll get really tired easily because you're picking up so much. But I just wish people wouldn't just feel like if they didn't accomplish something in this life, it doesn't mean that they're not going to,
Right.
because I think you have many opportunities. And if they're suffering a lot in this life, it doesn't mean that the next life they're going to be suffering. Their soul isn't destined for suffering.
I love that. It gives
I think
freedom
that
to
that's
people.
really true. I really feel so. If having past life regressions really helps, and I think it probably would for a lot of people,
Yeah.
and I see it becoming much more mainstream now. I
Yeah.
mean, before it used to be like people did it, but it was kind of like weird. But
Right.
now it's like a lot more mainstream. And if you
Yeah.
go to a really good person, I think
I
it'll,
agree with you on that. That's
yeah.
quite phenomenal. Well, Ellen, I just really want to thank you so much. Is there anything else that you want to like give, that you want to say that you didn't get a chance to say or that you
Oh, let me think about that. I think the other thing is, and that I've learned in this, is that, like, let's say you're talented at something
Mhm.
and your ego believes you're talented. It's actually not really you.
Right.
Like, that's something that's given to you, right? It's like God or whatever it is. And I think people own things too much, right? Like, let's say a great basketball player and
Right.
he's making 20 or $50 million a year, and it's not really him. Yes, you're the vehicle for it. But
Right.
so that's like a really fine line of not suffering and also not believing all the hype,
I love that.
because you're not in control of getting that gift. That's
Right.
something that's given to you, right? So in your next life, you might be, that's why people who if they have a lot of success and don't do a lot of good in their life, because they believe they earned it,
Right.
but it's not really that. You didn't really earn it,
You're
so that would be, yeah.
So Taylor Swift better go out and like do a lot of charity.
I totally feel, just in being able to see into lives, that it's extremely important for people who have a huge amount of financial success and also visibility to do a great amount of good.
Yeah.
Yes. I
Yeah.
think that maybe some of them do it without you knowing. You
That's
don't
true,
always
right?
know. Yeah,
Yeah.
because they don't want But I think there's probably a lot of them who just believe that they earned what they got. And I
Right.
don't really think it works that way. It doesn't mean you're going to give all your money away. You know what
Right.
I mean? That's not the point. But, to pick an amount, and also just to help people who don't have the success that you have.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that is a fantastic place to like leave this interview off. Like if you have found yourself successful in this world, make sure that you're giving back to the people around you. It's very important. And Ellen says to do it, and so do I.
Do it.
Do it. It doesn't have to be. It can be like by buying, who knows? It can be small things, it can be big things. You don't even have to let other people know you're doing it. Just do some
Exactly.
good.
Yeah, it doesn't always have to be money. It can
Yeah, it
be
doesn't.
support, emotional support. I mean, direction. There's a lot
Yep.
of ways to do it.
Gosh, Ellen, I have just enjoyed our conversation tonight. You are quite wonderful, and I really want to thank you for taking time out of your night to to spend it with us.
All right. I hope it
And
was helpful to
yes.
people.
Well, yeah. So, and I will definitely be in contact with you. You have a wonderful night.
Okay, you too.
All
Great.
right.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye
Bye.
bye.
Bye.